If you're after a really big SUV, the Ford Explorer, 2001 to 2010, might be one of your first picks. After all, the price for it in the secondary market is quite humane, and there are relatively few complaints about reliability, as servicemen assure. According to their car preferences, Ukrainians can be conditionally divided into three main groups. The former prefer European-made cars, mostly German. The latter recognize only the Japanese auto industry, but can potentially switch to the Koreans. And still others are ardent supporters of the Americans, and with a capital letter, real American cars. It is certainly about 5 meters long, 2 meters wide, with multi-liter low-powered V6 or V8 and a mandatory automatic transmission, a spacious interior and a bunch of cup holders. The Ford Explorer is one of those. Among other things, it has exceptional maintainability. You can breathe a second life into motors and transmission at any specialized service, and inexpensively. In Ukraine, Explorer was sold officially. Many new and used cars were driven by private traders. The SUV was produced only in a 5-door body and is designed for 5 or 7 people. The 7-seater version of the Ford Explorer came with 3 rows of seats. The design of the car is interesting. Its body is mounted on a powerful frame, and the wheel suspension is completely independent, which implies adequate handling on asphalt. Plus an all-wheel drive transmission with a reduction gear. Only petrol engines V6 4.0 liters, 213 horsepower, and V8 4.6 liters, 242 horsepower, were installed on the SUV. The basic version was equipped with a 5-speed manual or automatic transmission, and for the V8 version, only automatic transmission was provided. After the modernization of 2006, the flagship G8 began to produce 296 horsepower, and the machine acquired an additional 6th gear. Ford Explorer is huge not only outside, but also inside, but its interior is not off-road stylish and concise. True, finishing materials are not the most expensive. Plastic is hard, which, in general, is typical for overseas cars. The middle row of seats consists of 3 separate chairs, each of which folds, and a pair of rear seats can be easily removed into the trunk, forming a flat floor with it. If both rows are folded, then the trunk volume will be an impressive 2,490 liters. For the Americans is characterized by a rather generous equipment. Already in the basic version, the Explorer was equipped with ABS, front and side airbags, an onboard computer, full power accessories, air conditioning for the front and rear, alloy wheels and an automatic transmission, since 2006. Expensive versions boast leather trim and climate control, an electric sunroof, xenon headlights and a multimedia system with overhead DVD, remote control and wireless headphones. Like most American cars, the Ford Explorer is quite simple in design, hence its excellent maintainability and relative cheapness in maintenance and repair. Low-force large-volume engines have a very decent resource and often take 400,000 kilometers or more before overhaul. True, both motors have one feature: before replacing the spark plugs, deep candle wells should be cleaned or blown with air, into which sand gets into when the candles are unscrewed. When installing new candles, be careful, the thread breaks easily, and you have to repair the cylinder head. After 2 or 3 Ukrainian winters, the plastic tank of the radiator begins to leak. As a separate spare part, it is not supplied, and the assembly has to be changed as an assembly. After about 80,000 kilometers, the water pump may also leak. From low-quality fuel, the check engine icon often lights up. Usually the cause is misfiring spark plugs, which last an average of 40,000 kilometers. High-voltage wires also require attention. Their tips simply melt over time from the hot breathing of V-shaped motors. Further, the cause should be sought in faulty oxygen and mass airflow sensors. A long life chain works in the gas distribution mechanism, the service life of which is at least 200,000 kilometers. Much earlier than this period, the chain tensioner and damper will have to be updated. But the attachment belt complete with tension rollers can become unusable by 90,000 kilometers. In order to prevent, it is necessary to flush the injection system. The transmission also requires constant attention. Careful attitude can extend the life of the machine up to 150,000 to 200,000 kilometers. But for this, every 50,000 kilometers, you should change the oil in the automatic transmission, which is almost 10 liters there. In some services, it is recommended to replace it even more often, every 30,000 kilometers, and together with the filter. Otherwise, already after 100,000 kilometers, the automatic transmission may require repair. The all-wheel drive system has 3 modes: automatic, which connects the front wheels when the rear wheels slip, permanent all-wheel drive with traction distribution equally along the axes, and all-wheel drive mode with a reduction gear. Servicemen recall cases of failure of the transfer case and clutch. True, this happened after active off-road rides. According to statistics, after 100,000 kilometers, the driveshaft crosses and the outboard bearing die one after another. In a fully independent suspension, stabilizer struts do not last long, and in steering, rod ends. Somewhere around 70,000 to 100,000 kilometers, the upper ball bearings and silent blocks of the front levers are enough. About the same amount withstand shock absorbers. And after 100,000 kilometers, prepare money to upgrade all four wheel bearings.